Hey everybody, welcome back to a brand new rankings video. So today we're looking at the top 5 crystal augments, or you could just call them free augments in Tanki Online. Now with all the super broken augments in the game, it can be hard for newer players or players who just haven't really gotten lucky with containers to actually perform well. Hopefully this video will show you guys some really good free options you can pick to hopefully be able to actually contest against these really OP players that have all the best augments and are really hard to kill. Now I did rank every single crystal augment for each turret about a year ago, but a lot of augments have been changed, nerfed, buffed, so I thought this would be a good updated ranking video to let you guys know the top 5 best augments currently in the game. Now before we get started, don't forget to use credit tag Taspens in the item shop, helps me out a ton. Let's get straight into the list. Now the number 5 spot is going to go to the Shock Freeze augment for Freeze. Now Shock Freeze would be a lot higher on the list if Freeze wasn't already a really great turret. I mean, Freeze is probably one of the best base turrets because the freeze effect removes your double damage. Now the augment used to have a 50% decreased damage when using it, but since it was buffed, it only has a 5% decreased damage, and for how this augment works, the 5% damage decrease is definitely worth using. Now this augment can freeze people incredibly fast, and if they're using repairs or trying to run away from you, it's going to be basically impossible for them to actually live. If you're using a faster hull, maybe Viking with a speed increase, you can outmaneuver players pretty easily because you freeze them so fast and so effectively. I used to use this augment all the time when it first came out, but that damage decrease that it originally had made it just not that good. But ever since it was buffed a week ago, it's genuinely pretty darn good now, and with that freeze effect removing someone's double damage, it makes it a lot easier to go against players who can deal damage really fast, and that's why it's going to go in the number 5 spot. So the number 4 spot is going to go to the Plasma Torch augment for Ricochet. Now this is another augment that many people forget about since Helios is a thing. However, this augment can really be better than Helios, especially if someone has protection against Ricochet, because honestly, if someone has protection against Ricochet and you're using Helios, it's very hard to kill them. However, with Plasma Torch, it works a little bit differently than Helios to where it's a little bit more effective against players with protection. Now the augment has very low recoil, you reload 50% faster, and you consume 30% less energy per shot. Whereas with Helios, if you don't kill someone in your initial shots, you're likely dead if you're too close to the enemy. This augment, you get your shots back pretty darn fast, especially compared to Helios. You can get your shots off, reload really fastly, and get more shots off pretty instantly. The number 3 spot's going to go to Incendiary mix for Firebird. Now this augment, you deal an additional 20% more damage per tick and 20% more critical damage. Now obviously with this augment you can't deal fire damage, but with the 20% increased damage, you're already killing people fast enough to where that fire damage isn't really all that helpful. The main time I really find fire damage helpful is when I shoot someone for a few seconds and die, and then hope that the fire damage ends up killing a player. But let's be honest, they're probably going to repair by the time they get low health, so you're not really going to get kills with fire damage all that frequently. Now the big downside to Firebird, which is why I don't really use it all that much, is it's only good on about 40% of the maps in the game, because let's be honest, about half the maps in this game are freaking long range boring maps where you're going to get killed before you can even make it to the enemy base, and since you have Firebird, it's a close range turret, you have to get in the enemy base in order to be effective with it. So at the end of the day, unfortunately, Firebird's only good in about 40% of the games you're in. However, if you get in a really small map, it's super effective with this augment. Now, the number 2 spot's going to go to Shortband Emitter for Shaft. Honestly, every time I look at crystal augments to determine which ones are good, I always forget about this augment. Now, with this augment, your arcade shot deals 35% more damage, 33% more critical damage, and 35% minimum sniping damage, meaning when you ADS, you're automatically doing more damage no matter how long you ADS for. Now the big drawback is that your left click arcade shot shoots a tiny bit slower, like 30% slower, but that's not really enough to destroy this augment's effectiveness. That 35% normal left click damage is just incredible when going against players and being a bit more offensive. Now as an offensive player, I will probably definitely be using this augment a lot more. I always just forget about it because you have rapid fire shot, but honestly rapid fire shot can be pretty ineffective if you don't kill people in those first 3 shots, because you have to wait a decent amount of time for the reload. So honestly, this augment is pretty underrated in my opinion, probably one of the most underrated augments in the game, just because Shaft has so many other augments that people use, especially healing emitters. But yeah, that's why it's going to get the number 2 spot. So a quick honorable mention is high capacity ammo clip. Now at the end of the day, this is just normal hammer with an additional 2 shots. I just didn't think it did enough to put it in one of these spots, but I definitely wanted to mention it because it's a pretty good hammer crystal augment. So if you guys are looking for something, I would definitely go for this if you don't have an already great hammer augment. So the number 1 spot's going to go to Striker Cyclone. A lot of you probably realize this just because it's so effective in basically every single map you play. You get 8 rockets per salvo, your rockets shoot out out at a 40% faster rate, and the aiming recovery time is 50% faster. Now you're basically going to be able to salvo rocket anyone, no matter if they have protection or not. The only main disadvantage is that you have to aim for 20% longer, but honestly that 20% extra time you're waiting doesn't really determine the outcome of a fight. If you can't get that 20% extra aiming time on, you're probably already dead to begin with. But it's just very good against people with protections. It's very good against the Juggernaut, even though, let's be honest, Juggernaut is pretty easy to kill these days. It's just really nice when you can actually go against players who have really high GSs, really broken augments. It's just a fun augment that works in basically every single map, every single situation, and works really well against those really annoying buyers. Definitely let me know what you guys think about this list. What would your favorite crystal augment be? Let me know down in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, because at 15,000 subscribers we're doing a massive giveaway. Thank you guys so much. Don't forget to use credits like Taspens. I'll see you in a future video. Peace out.